Origins of the Bally Astrocade. The Bally Astrocade was first conceived in the mid-1970s during the height of the arcade boom. Bally, a company better known for pinball machines and slot machines, saw the rising popularity of home video games and decided to jump in. They envisioned a console that could bring the arcade experience directly to people's living rooms. Originally, it was called the Bally Home Library Computer when it was announced in 1977. The name hinted at a machine that wasn't just for gaming but also for educational and creative uses. However, due to delays in manufacturing and distribution issues, the console didn't hit store shelves until 1978. By then, competitors like the Atari 2600 were already establishing themselves, which put the Astrocade at a disadvantage right from the start. The hardware and its unique design. The Bally Astrocade stood out for its distinctive design. Unlike most consoles of the time, it looked more like a sleek, futuristic device rather than a simple box. It featured a 45-key membrane-style keypad on the top of the console. This allowed users to type in numbers, commands, or even basic programming code for the computer functionality. The controllers were also innovative. They were pistol grip-style joysticks with a trigger button. The top part could rotate, acting as a paddle controller, which was perfect for games like Pong or Breakout. This dual-function controller was ahead of its time and set it apart from rivals. Inside, it used a Zilog Z80 microprocessor, one of the most popular and powerful chips of that era. The system came with 4 kilobytes of RAM, which could be expanded with accessories. Its graphic capabilities were impressive compared to many contemporaries, offering better color and resolution than the Atari 2600. Arcade-quality games at home. One of the biggest selling points of the Astrocade was its focus on delivering arcade-style games. Bally had access to arcade hits since it was an arcade manufacturer itself. Early on, it included a built-in game cartridge called Bally Basic with 4 simple games: Gunfight, Checkmate, Scribbling, and Calculator. This was both a demonstration of its programming and its game potential. Other cartridges brought popular arcade titles home, such as Wizard of War, Space Invaders, Clones, and Incredible Wizard. The console's graphics and sound were often closer to the arcade than what competitors like the Atari 2600 could offer, giving it an edge for gamers who wanted a more authentic arcade feel in their living room. Games often had more vibrant colors and smoother animation, making the Astrocade attractive to enthusiasts. Programmable computer functionality. The Bally Astrocade wasn't just sold as a gaming console. Bally promoted it as a programmable home computer, which was rare for that time. Users could buy the Bally Basic cartridge that allowed them to write and run their own programs, with the optional add-ons like the Bally Professional Arcade Keyboard and external RAM expansions. It turned into a capable entry-level computer. This approach appealed to hobbyists and tinkerers who were excited about coding and personal computing during the late 1970s. However, while this was a visionary feature, the lack of mass adoption of programming among average users meant this advantage wasn't enough to drive widespread sales. Challenges and distribution problems. Despite its innovative features, the Astrocade faced many hurdles. The biggest issue was distribution. Initially, Bally intended to sell it in traditional retail stores and through mail-order catalogs, but production delays and mismanagement caused shortages. Many customers who wanted one simply couldn't find it. Later, Bally decided to license the console to a third-party distributor, Astrovision, which took over production and marketing in 1981 and renamed the console the Astrocade. By that time, however, newer consoles like the Intellivision and the Atari 5200 were arriving with more advanced technology. The Astrocade's initial head start in power and features was quickly eroded. The library of games. Over its lifespan, the Astrocade had a relatively small library of games, around 28 officially released cartridges. However, some of these were excellent. The Incredible Wizard was a highlight, often considered one of the best games on the system for capturing the arcade experience of Wizard of War. Dogpatch, a 2-player competitive shooting game, and Cosmic Raiders, a space shooter, showcased the system's colorful graphics and responsive controls. The smaller game library hurt the system's long-term appeal, though. As other consoles offered hundreds of titles, the Astrocade's limited selection made it harder to keep players engaged. Technical strengths compared to rivals. When compared side by side with the Atari 2600, the Astrocade often came out ahead in terms of graphics and sound. It could display up to 160 by 102 resolution with 4 colors per line, which was significantly better than the 2600's simpler visuals. Its sound capabilities, provided by custom hardware, also allowed for more complex effects and music. The controller's combination of joystick and paddle made it uniquely versatile, eliminating the need for separate paddle controllers as required on other systems. Yet, superior hardware alone couldn't guarantee success. Marketing, distribution, and developer support mattered just as much. And this was where the Astrocade struggled. Why the Astrocade failed in the market. The downfall of the Astrocade wasn't due to its technology, but more because of poor timing and business missteps. First, the console's delayed release meant it missed the initial home gaming boom. Then, its complicated retail strategy left potential customers frustrated. Additionally, when Astrovision took over, it didn't have the marketing muscle or industry clout to compete with giants like Atari and Mattel. The limited game library further compounded the issue. While dedicated fans loved the machine, casual gamers preferred consoles with larger selections and better availability. Finally, the video game crash of 1983 dealt a severe blow to smaller players in the market, and the Astrocade faded into obscurity soon after. Cultural and historical legacy. Even though the Bally Astrocade was not a commercial success, it has an important place in gaming history. It demonstrated that a console could also be a home computer, paving the way for hybrid systems in later decades. The innovative controller design inspired future gamepad and input ideas. Its attempt to bridge arcade quality with home gaming set a benchmark that later consoles strived to reach. Today, it's considered a collector's item. Enthusiasts admire its unique mix of gaming and computing capabilities, as well as its historical significance as an ambitious but underappreciated console from the golden age of video games. Lessons from the Astrocade's story. The story of the Bally Astrocade highlights several key lessons about the gaming industry. Timing matters. Entering the market too late can undo even a technologically superior product. Distribution and marketing are critical. Without widespread availability and strong promotion, great hardware can be overlooked. Software drives hardware sales. A console needs a strong library of compelling games to keep players invested. Innovation isn't always enough. Combining arcade gaming with home computing was forward-thinking, but it didn't resonate with the average customer of the late 1970s. Continued interest from collectors. Decades after its discontinuation, the Bally Astrocade still has a loyal following among retro gaming fans. Collectors seek out the hardware, the unique controllers, and the original cartridges. Preservation groups maintain software archives and emulators so that the Astrocade's games and programs remain accessible. It serves as a fascinating example of how creativity and ambition in the early days of video gaming sometimes went unrewarded in the marketplace, but left an enduring legacy.